you're one of the people, I mean, you make me think more than pretty much anybody else does. You actually do. And I so appreciate that you reach out to me a lot of times, especially on LinkedIn, because that's where you do
Hmm.
a lot of your delivery. I mean, you come up with something every day. And thank you for tagging me in each one because I
Hmm.
would hate to miss them. And you say, what do you think about? And you kind of explain, your reaction, your response, your thoughts
Hmm.
on a topic. And I tell you, there's never a day where I just go, like, I mean, if I don't get to it, I don't get to it, but I try to get there. And it's funny because I always appreciate when you say, it's a really good way of looking at it. I'm thinking, brother, I wouldn't have even thought of that if you hadn't made me. I mean, I ramble along in my positive trail every day and not too much,
Hmm.
breaches the wall, because there's just so much going on. I mean, we're both very, very busy people
Yeah.
with our speaking and our coaching and our
Hmm.
and our digging and our creating every day. I mean, you and I aren't just one trick ponies. We didn't just come up with this one clever little thing and
Yeah.
just beat it off the wall to death 100 different ways in 100 days and try
Hmm.
to cash in on it. We're both on this journey of climbing and always reaching over our shoulder to saying, hey, who wants to come up here? The view is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And look where I get to go tomorrow.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and do that. So I love how you do that. I mean,
No,
I'm
I
not kidding.
appreciate it.
You literally make me think more than most people do. I mean, most of my friends on Facebook are like, what, depending on your birthday and the address of the house you lived in when you were a kid,
True.
what is your cat's stripper name?
True
I mean,
that.
that's
True that.
that's where a lot of our Facebook friends are at. But LinkedIn,
Yeah.
it's the thinking
You know,
person
that
community.
I'm just I can relate to so much of what you said. So I've had this thought for quite some time. I think it's maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I was initially having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she said this thing that she used to get annoyed by when people tagged her. And that's where it kind of started to click for me, and the wheel started to turn as far as, well, yes, I get it because I've been tagged in those things, especially multi-level marketing, and I'm just like, come on, guys, we're doing that. Read between the lines of what this is. But what I realized was that the purpose for me, for why I choose to tag other people, is because as I continue to grow, I want to create that space for you to express who you really are. And I think there's only so much that you can say in that written summary, not to mention you're literally limited to the number of characters you can use in that written summary. And oftentimes it's written based on the past. So it doesn't really describe the story of who you are now or what you aspire to do. And so all these questions and all these posts, I just tell it to people. It's like, this is an opportunity for you to engage and to share whatever you feel, whatever you know. And then from there, who knows who's going to connect with you? Someone may read your post and be like, holy, it's exactly how I've been thinking, or this is exactly what I need. And boom, next thing you know is you met a best friend, or you met a partner, or you met a business connection. So I think it's really just a matter of mindset and how you look at it, and whether it's, oh, I'm annoyed by this person tagging me, or it's like, wow, I'm really grateful that I have an opportunity to express my own fears, um, my own moments of embarrassment and shame and whatever else. So
Yeah.
it's all a matter of perspective. And I've by this time I've got a range of everything. I've had people that commented saying, "Hey, don't ever tag me again," and I just move on. Just like, okay, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
a note and
And
just keep moving.
and somebody at least being, sometimes people go, well, I really, oh God, this person annoys me. They tag me every day and
Hmm.
every day,
Hmm.
every day. And then when you ask them, why don't you just ask them to not tag you?
That's it.
I don't know what
It's like
upset them
it's as
or,
simple as that.
yeah, I would rather know. And I saw a buddy of mine, this guy, Rob, this morning, somebody, he unfriended someone on social media. And this particular person, he unfriended for his reasons. I mean, this whatever
Hmm.
energy this person's putting out there, Rob decided he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Didn't want to get on his shoes. And the person instantly reached out to him because this particular person has some software add-on that lets him know when people delete him.
Oh wow.
And he jumped right on Rob. Why did you defriend me? Rob's like, who is this?
Yeah.
And he said, this is me. And why, blah, 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 blah. And Rob's like, hey, look, man, my wall, my family, my choice, my everything. I
Yeah.
just don't agree that our energies. And this person was fighting him on it. I mean, if you're going to
Hmm.
spend most of your day wondering why somebody doesn't want to read your stuff, maybe you should wonder what you're doing on social media. Is it to be popular? Is it to be loved? Or is it
Yeah.
to share a positive message? I mean, you and I, we've got a tribe like that
Hmm.
rivals the best in the world. And one of the things I love most about what you do is some days I'll watch it and go, wow, so I'm not the only person on the planet who thinks this way. I'm like, dude, hey,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
we tag each other. You
Hmm.
introduce me to people. I
Hmm.
send people your way. And
Hmm.
we've got this amazing bubble of not only a safe place, but also a place of wisdom and understanding and knowledge and patience where people can ask us a question. And we just turn
Yeah.
around and hold the hand out and go, well, that's really cool. What's going over here? I created this, and this is what helped me. So I love that you do that so continuously. You
Yeah.
didn't just come up with one video that went viral and just share it every day going,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's Oleg's bumper sticker again with a new color scheme on it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something, and maybe this is a topic that's worthwhile for us to even dive into when we do have it. But this topic of choosing to add value, but adding value in multiple ways. What I've learned throughout my experience is that in some cases, some people have the perception that, for example, if I make an introduction for you, the expectation is that you're going to do the same thing back. I don't view it that way. I view it that value comes in so many different ways, such as commenting or resharing or introductions or just being there, just honestly, just being there and observing or sharing ideas. And so what I've learned is that far too often, some people have this expectation of, okay, if I'm going to make 20 introductions for you, you better do the same thing and you better hit the 20, like it becomes very transactional, like a tit for tat type of thing. And I just look at it, it's like, there's so many other ways to provide value to the individual than that. And so that's one of the things that I feel like oftentimes it's not discussed enough, that value comes in so many different shapes and sizes. And it doesn't solely have to be a connection for a connection or an opportunity for an opportunity. And then the other thing is regarding time. You may have the time in your day to make 20 introductions today. I may not. I may not get that time until 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make me a bad person. I just am. So that's one thing that's been kind of fresh in my mind. And I was just like curious. It's like, why is that the thought pattern sometimes, in thinking that, okay, Steve made an introduction today, I got to do the same one now. And if I
Mm.
don't, then somehow he's going to think of me poorly. And in reality, that whole narrative of what others think, that's solely you. That's it. 99% of the time, that's just your story. Like the way that I might be thinking about how you might be thinking, completely different.
Mm.
And 99% of the time when I ask that person, hey, this is what I've been thinking, did you feel that way? Like, no. I
Yeah.
just moved on my day. Like,
Yeah.
here's what I thought of.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see the different stories that we create about rejection and abandonment. Same thing with that, the case of your friend unfriending him. It's like Rob probably thought of nothing about it, just unfriend and move on, and the other person's world crashed.
Mm. Yeah. And there's too many people out there. And you touched upon this. It's like they'll give you this,
Yeah,
but the mechanical thing is, okay, they're giving this, and as this hand comes back, this hand goes out expecting something to go in it.
yeah. And
It's
is
like
that really
they're
giving
tied
at that
together.
point?
It's not. No, it's not.
Just you'd expect, it's like it's a give or take. I wouldn't even
Hmm.
say it's give at that point. It's a take, because if you have an expectation that that person's got to deliver, there's really no genuine giving.
Yeah. I see it all as planting seeds. I mean, if say
Mm-hmm.
I help you out, I don't think, well, Oleg owes me. I just
Yeah,
say I was very happy to help Oleg. Now, the way I see it, and this is the way it was. I won't even say taught to me. These are the examples I chose to follow. This is what
mm-hmm.
has inspired me over the years. Is I just see that putting out that energy was the right thing to do for the right reasons at the right time because I was able to.
Yeah,
And we always have to be sure to honor ourselves in the process. Don't just give
yeah,
all the time. I used to do that, chronic people pleaser. And then I used to get mad at the people I was helping because I said yes when they asked for help. When had I just said no, they would have said, okay, no problem. So it's just planting seeds now. And it doesn't mean Oleg owes me anything. It just means
Yeah.
I'm happy I could help my friend. And
Yeah.
who knows where and when down the line, like you said, 5 years from now, you
Hmm.
could meet somebody and go, oh my gosh, this person is perfect for Steve. And
And that
reach
could
out.
become an opportunity of a lifetime for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, who knows?
Yeah. And you know, I'm not going to be here rolling my eyes going, really, dude, 5 years? It's about
Like,
time.
about time.
Yeah, right. You know, I'm going, Oleg, Oleg, Oleg. Oh my gosh, I helped him 5 years ago. Nothing. You know, and that's the beauty of this. I mean, you and I can hop on a call
Hmm.
at any time and share like this.
Yeah.
It's never with you. It's never a thing like, so Oleg, please tell me how you came up to the decision that you are looking for. You know, it's none of that. It's and I shared this before in our first conversation. It's
Hmm.
effortless talking to you, and I love
Hmm.
being surrounded by effortless people. You just make it easy
Yeah.
to be. And so many people right now, and of course, at the time of this broadcast, it's the year 2020. The word difficult. It's been a challenging year in so many ways, and I have found that the more I surround myself with the effortless people, the better version of me exists.
Yeah. The one thing that I'll mention about the whole challenging and difficult and hard, because I've definitely had conversations like that, especially when it comes to race, inequality, injustice, and
Yep.
some of these other things.
Yep.
You know, what I look at it is I look at it maybe through a slightly different view, and that is, what about it has to be difficult? What about it has to be challenging? What about it has to be hard? I think in buffering some of the conversations that I've learned with those words in mind, in my opinion, it's impossible for me to escape this concept that, for example, if at the beginning of a conversation you're going to say white elephant, the whole conversation I'm going to think of a white elephant in the back of my mind because it's something distinct. It has a certain emotion, certain energy that comes with it, and it's the same thing about difficult and hard. And so it's been interesting to have certain conversations with people and ask them the question of what about that conversation have to be difficult or hard. And sometimes what I've learned is that there are times when we just use words for the sake of using words
Mm.
and really carry the meaning to or are important enough to the context in which you present the message. So it's really interesting. There's a film that I've watched recently. I'll share it with you. It's called A Thousand Words
Hmm.
by Eddie Murphy. Fascinating. It was such a fascinating concept. The whole thing is structured about words have power, and essentially the summary of that film is that he has 1,000 words before he dies and the tree dies. And so he then begins to understand that a lot of the communication that he can do doesn't solely have to be through words. It can be through different body language. It can be through simple acts of kindness, things that really don't require a spoken word. And so it just got me really thinking how often, even throughout my life, I use words for the sake of using words, when in reality, there are situations where no things need to be said,
Mm.
period. You know, you connect with someone, you feel like there's an effortless connection, just genuine flow. That's it. You just accept it for what it is.
Yeah.
So that's just, yes, long story longer, it has been an interesting year.
It's
Without a doubt.
yeah, it has
At
been,
least
but
it has a nice ring to it, right? 2020.
oh yeah,
It's not like
perfect. Perfect
2023.
vision. You know, we all as a speaker and as a personal development guy, I'm thinking. I remember back in 2010, I
Uh-huh.
had a live event that we called Vision 2020. And I remember telling my old business partner, Deb, who's also a speaker, I said, oh, Deb, I can't wait 10 more years. We can rock this concept. And then 2020 happens, and a couple months in, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I can't do any live events. But this year has actually made me better and happier with
Yeah.
what I'm delivering and more deliberate
Yeah.
in what I choose to say than I would have been in prior years. So there's a gift inside everything. Is tough as it is on a lot of people right now, there's a gift in it. And I got the perfect example the other day of this. my wife Tina came downstairs before I did on Monday morning, which is a rarity. Usually I'm the first one down, watering the plants, taking the dishes out of the
Right.
dishwasher and just opening up the shades and stuff. But for whatever reason, I thought I hit snooze. I turned my alarm off and I kept sleeping. And all of a sudden I heard her go, "Oh my God, hon, grab your camera. You've got to see this."
Mhm.
And I went downstairs, grabbed my phone, turned it on, and the orange and purple pre-dawn colors were coming up over the trees across the street. We're up probably 20, 30 feet higher than the people across the street. They're at ground level and our property rises up. So we could see over the top of their house, orange and purple. And I thought, this is going to be an amazing sunrise.
Mm.
So I took a few pictures of that. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, there's that half orange ball of the sun. And I took that. I said, "Oh, this is going to make some great messages for later today." And I went
Mhm.
downstairs to the recording studio, and I came to turn on the computer and stuff, came back up, and I was in the kitchen and all the lights were off. But I saw this insane light coming through the little side light windows by the front door. And I could almost see, because the kitchen was a little dusty, I could see in the air that there was like a ray of light coming through the kitchen
Mm.
into the living room. And we have this prismatic, a big mirror piece of art with a bunch of little squares of mirror on it. And I looked at it and realized it was sending the reflection of the light from the side light of the front door was hitting that and going to the far end of the living room. And I'm thinking, okay, it's a sunrise. It's pretty. It's this and that. All of a sudden, I'm realized just how far this positive light is traveling. It's just going through stuff and bouncing off stuff. And it just, I mean, if there was a mirror at the other part of the living room, it would have kept going to another wall. I'm
Huh.
thinking, for all the bad stuff that's happening this year, which a lot of people would describe as dark clouds,
Uh-huh.
when the light comes through, and I didn't even have to say any words. I just filmed, I took the camera and I followed the light. I did a narration for it after. But even in the midst of all this stuff going on in the darkest of darkest clouds, light is still bouncing off everything.
Yeah.
If we just watched where the positive stuff is going, and for as many challenges as there are in society right now, there's still some light shining through it all. It just depends on where we want to focus and the energy we want to put in and what we want to do with it that can just keep that light going forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, if we all choose to just absorb it and reflect it to the next person, to the next,
Yeah.
to the next.
Yeah. One thing that I learned or I heard of, I haven't double checked my source, so I don't know how accurate it is, but one of the reasons why the sun actually changes the color and why we're able to see it as red and some of these other colors is because we're seeing the sun, but yet we're also seeing all of the particles, all the pollution, everything that's in the air. And it got me thinking as far as this concept of seeing it through from a different perspective, but at a different color. It's the same thing about life. I think, yes, that light is going to set to whatever degree, but then at the same time, as it comes down, you can see kind of all the challenges and adversities and stuff, but yet it always comes back up. It always comes back up, and it's always going to shine the way that it did at the beginning. And I think that's something interesting to look at life as well, is that there is always a rainbow at the end of every storm. It truly is. It's like, no matter how difficult it gets, I look at my life and ask myself the question that, yes, in the moment, it was absolutely the craziest thing that could happen on the face of the earth. But then you go through it and you continue to remind yourself that you've been through this before, just a different event. Like, you've already faced, the bankruptcy. You've already faced the divorce. You've already faced those feelings. They're just taking a different shape and they're presenting it to you in a different lens. So it's the same exact thing. One other thing, to not go completely off topic, but I was talking to a friend of mine who lives in Norway, and I don't know if you knew this, but did you know that they had a midnight sun?
No, no.
So supposedly, I think it's 2 months, June and July, the sun does not go down. It goes down, it hits the horizon, and then it travels straight across and then comes back up. So for 24 hours straight, the sun is up. And he
Wow.
said, what they have to do indoors is they actually have to block everything off. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to go to sleep. But I
Mm.
just thought that's such a fascinating thing. The sun literally does not go down.
Yeah, I would have to pull the blinds because There were, what I would do is what I've done in the past is I would fall asleep for an hour
Uh-huh.
and I would wake up and think it was the next day.
Yeah.
And at full energy, I would get up, spring out of bed, hop in the shower, get down to my recording studio and realize it's, 12:45 a.m.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, because I'm just so in tune with that. If I see the sunlight or see the light coming up, bang, I'm just back on.
Yeah.
And I feel as though I've been out all that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about what we do. I mean, we can be having a cloudy day, this, all of a sudden something positive happens. The sun rises and
And changes everything. Yeah.
we're recharged, we're rejuvenated. There's hope on the horizon again.
Yeah.
And it's funny how that it's not even tied to a certain time of day for us.
Yeah.
It's just this wave of something cool that we're aware of and we allow in through whatever sense we're using.
Mm-hmm.
The more the better. Sight,
Yeah.
sound, smell, touch, all of that, the more the better. But it can happen at any given time. And some people say, well, after Labor Day, it's a couple months left in the year,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be positive, or the old January 1st New Year's resolution.
Mm-hmm.
People start making their resolutions in like October and they go, yeah, I'm just going to coast the rest of the year. Yeah, it's not that great, but January 1st, my sun will rise. Well, your sun can rise today.
Yeah.
Please
I
stop
think that,
using the benchmarks for that.
yeah. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, at least in my opinion, this whole concept, I'll start tomorrow.
Mm.
Nothing about tomorrow is guaranteed. Nothing about next minute is guaranteed. And I think sometimes we forget that part, that you think you have control over these things, but in reality, I don't think you do. I mean, what about breathing can you actually control? What about seeing can you actually control? What about your smell? What about your taste? Do you think you can control? Any moment it could be gone. And there's nothing that you can do as an individual to reverse that or to fix that or to get it back. So I think this concept of tomorrow, I'd be curious to learn how that started and how it caught on as really a lifestyle for people to pursue. But I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think this concept of tomorrow, it exists, but then at the same time it doesn't, because I don't think it's the reality. If you want to do something now, the way that I look at it, it's that yes, you might have missed the window in the morning to do X, Y, and Z, but you still have 16 more hours. Do it anytime then. Yeah. Who cares that you didn't get it done at 8 a.m. and you have to do it at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
9 p.m. It's like this, as long as, and that's, I think, that difference in the mindset shift. Like, what are you really doing? Are you just following a routine with a specific time? Or are you trying to achieve an activity with a specific purpose?
Mm. Yeah, I've been communicating with somebody over in Australia who wants to collaborate for a project. She saw something humorous that I posted somewhere, and she said, "I'd love to know more about you and humor. How much of your life is humor based?" And I said, "Well, about 99%." Because even in the positivity, I said there's always that hint of humor in everything that I do, because I believe it's a great way to unite energy and bring people together, even if things aren't perfect. If you could just find that levity in the moment, and believe me, I found it in the worst situations I've ever gone through in my life. There's always something. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it could be ironic, it could be odd, it could be quirky, it could be whatever, but it lightens the room. And she said, I'd love to learn more. Well, we're trying to coordinate the times to communicate because we're 11 hours apart. And she said the other day, she goes, I'm not a morning person. I said, well, I am, because I did morning radio for years and it's geared towards me to get up and just hit full tilt. She goes, I'm really not. I don't start till noonish, 11 or noon. But she said, I work regularly till 3 or 4 in the morning. And from midnight till 3 in the morning, she's at her best.
Yeah.
So it's important for people to not just say, get up early, rise and shine, and find where you're at your best and build your days around that. Because those are going to be your most productive hours. You could get done more between noon and 3 in the morning, if that's your sweet spot, than you can trying to force yourself, yelling yourself in the mirror at 6:30 in the morning. Get up! If you're not your best, it's like pushing a wet noodle up a hill. You're not going to do it. But man, if you can find your sweet spot, and like you and I, our sweet spots are the things we talk about.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't agonize for days about what you're going to do for a 3-minute video on LinkedIn.
No.
You probably do what I do, going, you see something and inspires you, go, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah. That's it. It
Yeah.
it truly is as simple as that. No
Yeah.
reason to overcomplicate the process. No reason to create a process within a process. Just
Mm,
do it. I love Nike's slogan. Seriously, one
yeah.
of the best.
Yeah.
Just do it. That's it. It's as simple as that. What I thought it would be kind of funny as a play on if Nike were to release this would be just do it tomorrow. I think that would be
Yeah.
funny.
Well, I think, a lot of people,
Because
they
that
just,
definitely speaks to like a good
yeah.
portion
Yeah. Well, a
of
lot of people,
people.
because we think we have plenty of time,
Yeah.
which, I'm 52. I still think I've got plenty of years left in the tank, but I'm also not going to wait that long to do what I want to do. For better or for worse, I have made changes in my life because in that moment, which is a culmination of a lot of exhaustion and stress or whatever, I've just pivoted. And
Yeah.
I worked in radio for 10 years. I worked 15 years worth of hours, which may have been why I was so burned out. And I just said, I I'm going to run out of tomorrows because I'm going to have a heart attack or a stroke if I keep at this. Not eating
Yeah.
well, not sleeping well, stressing to the max, working way harder than I could have gotten away with.
Yeah.
And I wasn't happy and joyful in finding value in it for me anymore. I just became this robot who was burning out his parts.
Yeah.
And so I shifted, and there wasn't even a today at that point. I didn't have a job anymore. And then I figured out everything that led to this. What can I do today to get me happier, healthier? And when I started to actually do the stuff today, a path lit up in front of me. And I started to plug back in and find joy in my life again, and connection in people, in the right people. And it led to now a speaking career 16 years later.
Yeah. What's fascinating about what you just shared is this. I think I found this, I mean, this has definitely been true for my journey, and that is I didn't always have this sense of purpose and understanding. And so there were times where I felt I was confused or unsure about different things that I wanted to do. What's interesting about that journey is that everything's habitual, right? So if you put yourself in the position where you're constantly telling yourself, I'm confused, I don't know what I want to do, and that's going to be how that literally becomes your day. That's it. It's as simple as that. And I think far too often I noticed myself in wanting to experience different results, but yet my actions were not even close to meeting those. So I wanted to do that, but yet I was doing complete opposite during the day. No plan, no vision board, nothing, no
Yeah.
envisioning of what it could be, but yet wanting those things to happen. And so I think there's a lot of wisdom within what you just said as far as this concept of time. And I mean, what is time at the end of the day to begin with? Whatever you make it, whatever that day looks like, however long, whatever it is that you want to do, you can accomplish. I think far too often, from my experience, I mean, I remember giving myself 99 reasons for why I couldn't do the thing before giving one
Yeah.
for why I could. And
Yeah.
in reality, think about what if the roles were reversed? What if you gave yourself 99 reasons for why it could work? And then out of that, you might have picked one that maybe it didn't. So
Mm.
I think there's a lot to be said with how you choose to operate within a day, and recognizing that, in my opinion, you have all the time in the world right now to
Mhm.
achieve whatever it is. And then the other thing is that part of that success and happiness, whatever other formula, whatever you envision as that ultimate version, it doesn't have to be the same exact thing.
Mm.
It could actually be just doing the thing, creating the thing.
Yeah.
I think so much, at least my lens, the way that I see the world, so much of it has been emphasized on that final thing, that sculpture. But in reality, it's always been the journey. It's always the journey, because that's where you learn. That's when you observe. That's when you actually become. The whole thing of becoming, it's not just, that's it. Like who you become along the process, how you transform, like that's the beauty. It's not the final product of Steve in 50 years.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see that,
Mhm.
you can do the things that you've envisioned, but at the same time, it's like, I think it's a slightly reversed model. I think there's too much focus on the destination and not enough on the journey, where I think it's always the opposite. I think the journey is the destination.
Mm. Yeah, and you said it perfectly when you said it's the person you become along the way. I say as soon as you said that, I'm like, this is why we're talking, and this is why we're connected, and why there's a
Yeah,
mutual respect both ways. Because, and I got a few years on you. I'm 52 years old now. Back
just
when
a
I was in
couple.
high school, just a couple. You could put two birthday cakes of Oleg's next to mine,
Mhm.
and probably have the same amount of flame. But back when I was, let's say, in high school, mid to late teens, the what our parents would say to us at the time was, get a good education, get a good job at a good company with good benefits, do your 45 years and retire with good benefits.
Yeah,
And that was it's not that they were bad, they were just saying what had been told to them. The model has now shifted. I mean, good luck staying with any one company or wanting to for
yeah,
40 years these days. It doesn't make it better or worse. It just means it's different. And broad brushing it like that is more difficult. I had a friend reach out this morning. Actually, she posted on her timeline, and it inspired me to write about 1,000-word article on mine. She's on a healthy journey. She's losing weight. She's getting in better shape. She's taking better care of herself. And she said she hit a little snag, and she was really feeling kind of down that she wasn't making as much progress lately. And it inspired me to write this message about, we're all climbing somewhere. Some people climb faster, some people climb steady, some people say, you got to attack it every day and give it
right.
everything you've got, and they become robotic in their, you're always fighting. I said, you know what, some days when you climb in a mountain, it's okay to just take a break, sit on a rock in the sun, and eat a sandwich.
Yeah.
And I said, there are days you just got to take your boots off and let your blisters heal a little bit. And
Yeah.
here's the cool part about it is, you may be sitting on your rock, you might be feeling a little guilty, but if you look back down the mountain and realize how far you've come, you're not hanging at the bottom with the stench of the porta potties in the parking lot anymore. You're above the tree line, and you can look at how far you've come because you've been consistent. And you can look and say, okay, I still got this much to go. But if you stop and take that break, even if you feel bad about yourself, you might look off to the side and see somebody else on a rock 40 feet away rubbing their feet. And you don't even have to speak. You just look at them and you go,
Hmm.
we're in this. We're both taking a break. Hey, maybe tomorrow we climb together and we have each other's back, and we don't let each other quit. We pick each other up
Yeah.
and we keep going together. So, but when you just feel that isolated, if you don't see a ton of progress, man, you can just roll yourself back down that mountain in your mind and your heart when you don't really need to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful journey. It really is a beautiful journey, and there's so much to learn every single day. So many different opportunities that come along the way, and I think there's a lot to be said with just choosing to embrace who you are and what you are, and know that this whole concept of me being enough, that's it. You already are.